this morning, and it came out over the Players Tribune as we saw Jalen Hurts make his announcement that he will be transferring now from Alabama to Oklahoma to be a part of the Sooners. Jason Kersey now joining us from The Athletic, and he covers Oklahoma, and we got him on to talk about this situation with Jalen and much, much more. But, Jason, great to have you on. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me.
Any surprise with Jalen Hurts now confirming the transfer to Oklahoma?
Not terribly surprised. I mean, I thought I thought Maryland and Miami both had pretty good chances just because of his connections with Enos and Loxley. But if you're a quarterback and you see what Lincoln Riley has done with 2 straight transfers in Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray, and you've had so much success. I mean, Jalen Hurts is now going to a place where he has an opportunity to get better and improve as a passer and all those things, play in a system that he could really thrive in. And on top of that, potentially get back to the playoffs. I mean, Oklahoma's been the last 2 years, and there's no reason to think right now that there's anyone in the Big 12 other than maybe Texas that's remotely close to Oklahoma. So, I mean, and on top of that, he can potentially compete for the Heisman Trophy. So, I mean, all of those things I think add up to it making a lot of sense of why he would want to come to Oklahoma.
Jason, I guess from the Oklahoma fan base, what are you hearing from them, the excitement level of Jalen transferring, and also from inside the building with the players and the coaches with him now coming in and being a part of this team?
Well, I think everybody's excited. I mean, Oklahoma was in sort of a weird spot when it comes to quarterback because they have this Austin Kendall situation that's sort of playing out today as well. On the same day that the Jalen Hurts news, but Austin Kendall was probably not coming back. And then they have a really, the number 1 quarterback in the country, Spencer Rattler, coming in, but he's not getting there till the summer. So they're in a little bit of a weird place quarterback-wise, and this just totally firms that up. So at least for another year. So I think everybody's excited. I mean, Jalen Hurts, I've sort of thought for the last couple of years that I'm not going to say that he got a raw deal because Tua Tagovailoa is obviously unbelievable and was very deserving of getting the starting job and taking over in the national title game, all of those things. But at the same time, I mean, Jalen Hurts is such a winner. He had so much success. I think that he gets a little bit too much scrutiny when it comes to his passing. I know that it's not great, it's not perfect, but the guy can still throw the ball around decently, and he's going to have so many weapons around him in Oklahoma that there's no reason to think that he can't become a Heisman Trophy contender this year. Wouldn't that be something? Jalen and Tua both up for the Heisman. That'd be unbelievable.
Jason, do you think there's any correlation with Austin Kendall entering the transfer portal and Jalen Hurts coming to Oklahoma? And I know these happened a few days apart, but it just seems like once Kendall made that decision, that it was really opening the door for a 1-year starter, Jalen Hurts, to come in, given that Rattler is not going to be enrolling until the summer.
Well, I think it's all very correlated. I mean, I've been told that what happened is Austin Kendall had not planned on entering the transfer portal until he found out that Oklahoma was pursuing Jalen Hurts, and that's when he put his name in. That's why he did it so late. Which, that's sort of the sad thing for Austin Kendall is that probably a lot of opportunities that he might have had he didn't have because he didn't get his name into that portal until relatively late. So definitely once he found out that they were recruiting Hurts, it just made sense for them to then for Kendall to then look for his own opportunities.
Jason, I've had you join my classes at Alabama several times. You've been kind enough to do that via Skype and talk to my students. And we've really zeroed in on one story you wrote a couple years ago on Lincoln Riley and his unique backstory. You went to Lincoln's hometown, spent time, I think, with some of Lincoln's like grade school teachers. Can you just tell us a little bit about Lincoln Riley and why, even back then, he was just the offensive coordinator, I think, when you wrote the story, but even back then, you could tell that he was destined for big-time things.
Yeah, so when he was hired as Oklahoma's offensive coordinator, it was coming off a really bad year offensively for OU. And he was sort of seen as the savior that was going to potentially come in and fix things, and obviously he did. But it was a weird time. I mean, OU had just fired as offensive coordinator Josh Heupel, who was OU's national championship winning quarterback. It was a really messy breakup for a relationship between Bob Stoops and Josh Heupel that was so strong and so went back so many years. And then they bring in this young guy from East Carolina that nobody in Oklahoma had really ever heard of. And now, so that summer I went to his hometown, town called Muleshoe, Texas. It's about what you'd expect, a lot of grain silos and very, very small town feel. I think maybe one stoplight, that sort of thing. But he was very smart. Everybody sort of, all the teachers that I talked to said that they thought he was going to be a doctor or a lawyer, and he ended up being a football coach. But he's very smart. He's always kind of been on a fast track to his career. He became a full-time assistant coach at Texas Tech, I think, when he was 22. So very, very young. That doesn't happen often at all. This is a guy who's kind of been on a skyrocket career-wise, and so he and Bob Stoops only needed to see it for 2 years before he felt comfortable, handing the keys to the kingdom to him.
We're visiting with Jason Kersey of The Athletic and talking about the Oklahoma situation. Again, if you have not heard, breaking news this morning is that, or this afternoon, Jalen Hurts has now decided to transfer from Alabama to Oklahoma. Will be part of their coming up team. And you brought it up earlier, Jason. You said, look, he's got a cast of players and talent around him. Tell us about some of those guys. I know you lose some up front, but give us an idea of what he'll have and around him in order to put up some big numbers this year.
Well, Marquise Brown was obviously one of the big time receivers. I was leading receiver last year. He's gone. He declared for the NFL draft, but CeeDee Lamb is back. He's a really big time guy. I mean, a lot of the guys that OU brings back are really highly recruited. I mean, shoot, OU's bringing in 3 5-star receivers in this recruiting class, 3 of them, which is, completely unheard of. And all 3 of them will be enrolled early, and so all 3 of them will be on campus this spring with Jalen Hurts. So, beyond that, I mean, they've got 2 basically 1,000-yard rushers back. The big question about Oklahoma is not going to be the offense. I don't think that's anything anybody has to worry about. They're going to put up big numbers. They're going to score a lot of points. The question is going to be, as it has been for the last 5 years, the defense. And there's finally a little momentum when it comes to that because Lincoln Riley's made some changes and has a new staff on that side of the ball.
Jason, can you resolve this pressing question for us that we have been debating for months? How tall is Kyler Murray?
Oh, man. He's listed at 5'10". I know there's people who think that he's not 5'10". I'm 5'10", and I think we're about the same height when I stood next to him. I know that OU's SID put out a tweet about defending their measurement of him. That's fine. I have no reason to believe that guy's lying, but, like I said, I mean, I know that I'm 5'10", and when I stood next to him, we seem like we're about the same height. He's a lot faster.
Are you 5'10" in shoes?
Pardon me?
Are you 5'10" in shoes or without shoes?
Well, I don't know. I haven't measured myself in high school, I don't think.
I got you.
How are you hearing that, or how do you think Kyler will project to the NFL after watching him very closely this last year?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I mean, that's going to be fascinating to watch. I mean, he's still very small by NFL standards, but he does have a big arm. He does, he is a really elusive runner. All those things are true. As you look and see what the Rams and the Chiefs and the Browns are doing offensively, you sort of can see where things are going in the NFL. So all of those things would seem to point to Kyler Murray having a shot to be a really good NFL quarterback. But it's all going to come down to his size. I mean, the other thing is, in that Orange Bowl, which your listeners and you guys watched, that when Quinnen Williams, I think it was, hit him early in the game and sort of hit him really hard, put a big blow on him, that might have been the first time he got hit all year. I mean, he was so good at avoiding contact, at getting down, at sliding, at getting out of bounds, all those things. And so I do wonder about his durability in the NFL, if he's going to be able to stay that elusive. So that's the only thing I think that I would be concerned about.
Jason, two-part question. We'll end with this one. When you look at this from a recruiting standpoint in this recruiting class, where would you put Jalen as far as a part of that class? Is he the big name? Is he the biggest one coming in as far as transferring in to be a part of this? And also, how would you measure what's going to happen as far as people excited about him as they were about whether it was Mayfield coming in or Kyler Murray? Because I think there's more data on Jalen coming in than they did on the other two.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's so different, right? Because Baker Mayfield was a walk-on at Texas Tech and a walk-on at Oklahoma. Now, he had some success as a freshman at Texas Tech, so there was a little bit of that. But when Mayfield showed up, you have to remember, and I know Lars will remember this because it's the first time we ever met. When Mayfield showed up, Trevor Knight had just beaten Alabama in the Sugar Bowl and was going to be a star. That obviously did not happen. But so at that time, I mean, that was pretty muted, I think. I mean, people were sort of confused about why he would do that. People were excited once he got on the field and started doing what he did. But, I mean, that was a little different. And then when it comes to Kyler Murray, he showed up. He was a 5-star recruit. He was the best quarterback in Texas high school history, all of those things. But he also showed up in December of Mayfield's first year as a starter. So OU had already won the Big 12. They were going to the playoff. And they knew that they had at least one more year of Kyler Murray. Of Baker Mayfield. And they ended up having 2 more. So I think this is different because Jalen Hurts has played for 3 years. He's played in 3 national championship games. He's won 2 SEC championships. I mean, all of those things, make this a lot different. I mean, his dad, I know, made a lot of news last summer when he said he'd be the biggest free agent in college football history. And I think he's right. He is. I mean, this is unprecedented. There's never been a grad transfer like this. Usually, grad transfer quarterbacks are guys who couldn't play and end up going to a lesser school or whatever. And you can argue, obviously, Alabama's been a more successful college football program. But you don't hear often about guys going from one playoff team to another. And that's exactly what's happening, and it's really unprecedented and unbelievable.
Jason, great stuff, my man. Thanks for coming on and spending time with us and giving us the update there from Oklahoma and all that's going down with Jalen Hurts and the team. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks, Jason.